You're welcome to the next MP. My name is Kafui Dey. My guest today is a hard-working human rights lawyer, an ardent activist, and the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the constituency of Medina in the Greater Accra region, Francis Xavier Soso. You're welcome to the next MP.
Thank you, Kafui.
You are known for freeing Ghanaians who have been wrongfully jailed. Why do you want to become the next MP of Medina?
I don't know about freeing generally like that. I know we try to do as much as we can do to help people who are wrongfully incarcerated.
And you get results. You've been doing this for a long time.
By
People
God's
who have
grace.
been wrongfully remanded, wrongfully jailed.
We've done quite
and I know currently you are on a case where you want to find 10 million CDs for somebody.
Yeah, Emmanuel Amofa.
Yes, he was killed 2 years ago.
That is
fighting
correct.
for justice,
That
even
is
though
correct.
he's gone.
That is correct.
You're doing a great job in that aspect. Why do you want to be the Member of Parliament for Medina?
Well, I want to be a Member of Parliament because I believe it will provide me with a platform to affect legislations that affect the generality of Ghanaians, including people living in Medina. I believe that my passion for human rights, social justice, and my passion for justice for all and injustice to none, all can be translated onto the parliamentary work, such that I would help promulgate laws that can help our people. It will amaze you to know that as we speak today, we still have laws on our statute book that makes begging on the street criminal. You know, we have all kinds of laws, implementation of which has dire consequences for our people. These are laws I believe that we can either amend or do something about. There are many laws that I don't think should still be on our statute books. And I believe with my passion in human rights, I can help effect some changes in these laws. For example, we've been talking about non-custodial sentences for a very long time. We've been talking about issues of police council, independent police council that would investigate police brutality, and a number of things that we believe can have a bigger voice when I find myself in Parliament. So that is one of the critical reasons why I want to go to Parliament, to have quality and effective parliamentary representation.
Okay,
then,
so
of course,
let me just quote what you said when you were elected the parliamentary candidate for the NDC.
Yeah.
I quote, "I have what it takes to be the parliamentary candidate for the NDC in the Medina constituency. Everybody knows my background as a lawyer and as someone who fights for the rights of the ordinary persons in the society." So because you're a lawyer, you want to be MP? Is that it?
No, not just because of that. Even though I believe that being a lawyer and having been an activist all this while is going to aid my work in Parliament. I mean, in Parliament, let's face it, the core duty of a parliamentarian is lawmaking, beyond being a check on the executive. You are there to make laws, and you are going to review laws that are already in existence. You are going to be making new laws and so on and so forth. I believe that even though you don't need to be a lawyer to be in Parliament, being a lawyer is an added advantage, because even in law school we are taught how to make laws, legislative drafting. We are taught the processes of making EIs and LIs and so on and so forth. So these are things that will come handy when you get yourself in Parliament. So yes, you don't need to be a lawyer to be in Parliament, but I believe that all what I stand for as a lawyer and the things I do as a lawyer would add to my representation of the people of Medina. And that is why I believe that between myself and whoever may be coming, I stand a better chance of becoming a better representative in Parliament. That is doing the core parliamentary business. I mean,
okay, let me hold you on that.
Yes.
Okay, you say so. You stand a chance of, because of course the Medina seat is not a vacant seat. There's somebody sitting there right now, and this is what you said on City Eyewitness News, August 2019. It has been zero since he became an MP. We are great friends, but when it comes to representing the people, it hasn't worked. Of course, you were talking about the current MP for Medina, who is in the person of Alhaji Abubakar Siddiq Boniface, who is also a Minister of State with the Vice President's office. He used to be the Minister for Zongo and inner city development. And you said this, granted, in 2019. You said he has done zero.
Yeah.
Do you still stand by those words?
Well, with some few modifications. I still stand by them with some few modifications. I say few modifications because, I mean, let's be frank to ourselves. Within 3.5 years, you definitely will be required to do some things. I believe that we haven't had an adequate representation of the people of Medina. In the first place, when, the current MP was a minister of Zongo and Inner City, Medina is a typical area where we have lots of inner, city dwellings. If the definition is going to be slums and ghettos and so on and so forth. But the truth is that for all the period, what did Medina benefit from his ministerial position? Is zero. You see, and
still?
Oh, I'll come there. You see, still, what allocation has come to Medina as a result of he being a minister for those Zongo, or at least now a former minister of Zongo? Because you see, representation means that having the ability to lobby for development for your people. When we speak today, go back to Medina and look at all the go to Medina. We have 15 electoral areas in Medina. None of the electoral areas can boast of any major infrastructural development, or at least major intervention from the current member of parliament.
Let me point you to the Medina Sports Complex, which the minister had the pleasure of inaugurating, got the president to come over. And there are a couple of things that he has done. Let me just list them, and then you come up, because
very well.
You said zero.
Yeah, so that we'll pick up.
Exactly. So the polyclinic in Medina has benefited from an ambulance, has benefited from beds, has benefited from mattresses, and he's been quite busy in this coronavirus era. 15 mosques, including the Medina Central Mosque, have benefited from PPEs, personal protective equipment. He went into a collaboration with the Korean embassy, gave them that, and the police, the chiefs, transport operators, they've gotten PPEs, 50,000 nose masks to be manufactured by seamstresses and tailors. The man is on the ground and he's giving. And you see, I like your idealistic ideas about parliament, but in Ghana, parliament is about what can you do for me? And based on these few things that I've said, people are doing. He's doing things for the people.
I 100% agree with you in respect to, like the very last point you raised about some 50,000 face masks to be manufactured. So we are still in the domain of to be. We are talking about somebody who was given a mandate, 4 years mandate. We are 5 months to the end of that mandate, and we are asking you to produce evidence of that representation. And you are talking about we still have some 50,000 marks yet to be.
You're conveniently forgetting the other things.
I'll come there.
Ambulance there.
We talk about see, the ambulance was part of the national ambulance, whatever services arrangements by the president in recent time, when he was being accused of not investing at all in the health sector.
But the people don't care. All they know is that an ambulance has arrived.
Well,
previously there was no ambulance.
You see,
pregnant women were dying en route to the maternity ward.
Unfortunately, when you come to Medina, that has not been the major need of the people. You see, so that's what I'm talking about. You see, when we talk about representation, you are representing the aspirations of the people. So let me take you one by one. For example, you talk about the football pitch. The football pitch was never a project of the current member of parliament. That was a private arrangement, a private institution. And that is why, as we speak now, the indigents of Medina do not benefit from that stadium.
How do you mean?
I'm telling you, yes. I'm telling you, right now I have, you see, I'll come there. As we speak now, there are local teams in Medina that used to play on that pitch before it was converted to the kind of white elephant it has become now.
Oh, it's a white elephant?
Oh, yeah, it is a white elephant because it is not fit for purpose. The reason why it's not being used is because, even on the day of inauguration, it was nearly mad by protesters, because the stadium as it stands now is not fit for purpose. and for that reason, nobody is able to use that stadium.
Why not? Why is
well,
it not
it's an AstroTurf. So it in dimensions, it doesn't fit. It's not qualified to be a standard pitch for players that are supposed to be, playing in international fields and so on and so forth. And don't forget that in Medina, Medina has been a hub of very renowned players. Many renowned players in the Black Stars. Some found their way into Kotoko, some their way to Hearts. They came from Medina. So if the current member of parliament was properly representing the interests of people of Medina, you would have first of all engaged stakeholders. He was not. This is a private arrangement, and as we speak now, no team in Medina have an opportunity to play on that pitch.
So if you were in the seat, what would you have done?
Well, in the first place, I believe that what I would have done,
yes,
not what I would do if I come back. Yeah. If I come to power, I would prefer what would you do, because I believe this is what I am going to do when I come to office, come 7th January 2021. In the first place, we are going to have a major stakeholder engagement, because youth development and sports development is one of the key items on what I want to do, because I realize that it provides, it's a means for generating employment for a lot of the youth in Medina. And so sports is one of the areas we don't need to joke with. And I'm going to engage with all the stakeholders in the sporting industry.
Will you abandon the stadium?
We are not going to abandon it. We are going to restructure that stadium.
At whose cost?
Well, we need to find the money. It's going to, because you see, if something is serving a community, if you were able to do that stadium well, I believe that the stadium has a potential of generating income. I know that where it is now, it is just a white elephant. Since it was commissioned, nobody uses it, and it has no use as we speak right now.
Nobody uses this stadium at all.
As we speak now,
zero.
It's zero.
After the launch, where the minister caught a penalty,
as we speak now, you see,
it
is zero.
Nothing.
It's zero. A stadium like that, if it were up to standard, we should be able to play even league matches on that stadium.
But why can't it be used for training purposes? There must be some use for it.
You see, the point is that once you don't properly engage people, you see, when you are a leader, you are not a leader unto yourself. You are a leader for people. You are supposed to preside over people. So when you are given an opportunity to do a community project, if you don't involve the critical stakeholders, then you failed.
And so your approach is going to be different.
Absolutely. It must be people-based approach.
Okay.
So that when you bring out the development, the people see their own contribution in that development, and then they can participate in the enjoyment of the development. As we speak now, that stadium is a white elephant, and even the current MP cannot claim that as an achievement.
Okay. So I grant you that. Let's jump to just the wider race for this particular seat. This is your third attempt at trying to be a member of parliament. Is that correct?
Well, this is the second attempt.
Second attempt.
Yes.
Second attempt. What were the challenges you faced in securing the vote of the delegates to represent them on the ticket of the NDC?
The general enormity of the work, as in running a helter-skelter and trying to get every delegate to understand your message, and to buy into your idea, and to give you the nod to represent them. And then also, we have Medina is a cosmopolitan area. So it is easier for people who are opponents sometimes to resort to tribal cards or religious cards when it becomes convenient for them to do so. And so you may have a few people that may raise issues like, he's a never and a Christian, so he will not really mind the Islamic population or those who are of Islamic faith. And these are, clear propaganda messages that people try to throw out them. So let me just
take you on that, because your opponent last year, Sidi Abubakar Musa, was not too happy with some of the things that you said. And I want to quote him. He says, don't say somebody is a foreigner. So he from what I surmised was that he was actually accusing you, casting some aspersions as to where he came from.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because, it was a contest of 4 aspirants. And I know that everybody was, trying to put out a message out there. My style of politicking is not to come at people and try to attack them.
Did you doubt his Ghanaianness?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know that, you see, that is the least that an NDC member will do. You know, that's why we call ourselves a Congress. You know, we believe that almost all of us here, we came from somewhere. Yes, and we safely arrived here. So,
are you on good terms with him?
Oh,
is he part of your team for Susu 2020?
I think that he is also working in his own terms, but not necessarily. You know, what we're doing now, we have an approach now which is being led by the constituency. So it's not like I have an exclusive Susu team that is working for me. We have the constituency structure that is working, right from the constituency executive team to ward-based teams to branch-based teams, and that is how we are working, so that all those like individual teams were dissolved right after the primaries, so that we can build a united front. And as I talk to you now, that is the front we are going into the general elections with.
Is he in your team?
He is part of the team.
On City FM last year, the question was posed to you, how expensive was your campaign? And you said, as at that point, you had spent about 300,000 cedis and counting on posters, on food, on transport, on delegates. When you spend on delegates, are you bribing them?
I mean, there are people who may want to bribe delegates. I mean, I don't subscribe to that.
But you give them TNT?
Oh, well, definitely. I mean, sometimes depending on what you're doing.
Is that a bribe?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. You know, the point is that, I mean, you cannot bring people together and congregate them and move them from their homes and wherever they are without, commuting them. So sometimes, these are normal incidental costs that come with politicking.
But it's a lot, 300,000 cities to be MP of Medina.
No. You see, the point is that if you are having over 100, if we had about 1,550, 512 delegates, that's a huge number of people to rally together and to mobilize. So, it's important that we understand that, politicking, there are incidental costs.
Okay.
That come
how did you raise that money? You called it love and care, not vote buying. How did you raise that 300,000?
Oh, no. I think that, people who believe in your values and believes in your dreams to represent people would always contribute to it. In fact, as we are preparing for general elections now, there are many people who have called and offered one assistance or the other. Okay. Someone is doing posters for you. Someone is doing some t-shirts for you. Someone says that I have a car, come and brand it for elections. If you were to put cost on those things, clearly it will be so huge.
I was gratified to find out that the opposite of what normally happens in Ghana actually happened with you. So you had Kaya Ye and Market Queens and
all kinds of people
actually donating.
When we did, I did a
birthday fundraiser. And they gave you money.
Taxi drivers.
That's weird in Ghana. Normally, the politicians are supposed to give money to the people they want
it depends,
to help them.
It depends on how the people see you. If they see you as a true reflection of their aspirations, they will be willing to do whatever it takes to support the dream. And for me, that is what I see. Look, there are individual taxi drivers who have branded aspects of their taxis and just campaigning. These are not people that I knew. In fact, there were people who used to come and say that I met this taxi driver somewhere. I want you to look for him because this is the kind of work the person is doing for you. For me, what I see is people buying into the values, buying into the dream, and just wanting to come together to make this happen. And you know what? I will not disappoint these people.
All right.
In Parliament, they would see that the best decision they ever made was to join lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu and make him the next member of Parliament of Medina.
Join us after this break. You're watching The Next MP. My guest is the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the good people of Medina and the Greater Accra region, Francis Xavier Sosu. My name is Kafui Dey. Stay with us.
As the the national regulator of the communications industry in Ghana, the National Communications Authority seeks to ensure an environment that is safe and fair for consumers and service providers. NCA grants licenses and authorizations for operation of communication systems and services, develops guidelines to streamline communication activities, establish and monitor quality of service indicators for operators and service providers. NCA is in 8 regions: Accra, Tamale, Takrady, Kumasi, Ho, Kafui Dey, Sunyani, and Bolgatanga. Do you have unresolved complaints with your service providers? Contact us on 0800110662, 0307011419 between the hours of 8 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. from Monday to Friday, or visit our website at www.nca.org.gh and follow the procedure for filing a complaint or submitting enquiry. National Communications Authority, Communications for Development.
You are watching The Next MP. My name is Kafui Dey. My guest is Francis Xavier Susu. He's a lawyer, an activist, and the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the good people of Medina in the Greater Accra region. Let's talk about police brutality. It's a hot topic now, not just around the world with Black Lives Matter, but also in Ghana. And you've had a lot of cause to be very hard and very demanding in your expectations of the police. Where is this passion coming from?
This passion is coming from my experience growing up at Newtown.
Were you ever arrested?
No, but I witnessed several arrests. Whether they were lawful or unlawful arrests, I can't tell. But there were several arrests. You know, where we used to live, we had consistent raids, which we call scatter. And anytime they get there, we see bullet shells and people being arrested because some were involved in drugs, obviously. And there were many times we saw issues of, assaults in the course of that arrest. These were things that I've always sought to find some answers to. So eventually when I pick human rights as a passion and seeks to do something with human rights, I soon realized that there were many people that were brought to court for the wrong reasons. In fact, when I was a lawyer, when I was first called to the bar, one of the courts I used to practice often was Circuit Court 1. And at that time, we used to have a judge, Justice Obri, I think Justice Francis Obri, as he's now in the High Court. And there were many times when I appeared before him. I mean, he used to advise and coach as a young lawyer growing up. And one of those days he called and said, look, so I've been seeing you following up on human rights matters. I've struck out a lot of matters for want of prosecution. These were matters that were brought by the police. And yet, it seems that people were still in custody. So we had a situation where people were on remand or they were in custody. And
remand is you awaiting your actual trial in court.
And they were in custody, and yet there's no case pending in court against them. So I decided to follow that. And within a month, only in the Circuit Court 1, as at that time, I had about 40 people whose case had already been struck out, and yet they were in some prisons.
What is the reason for this travesty of justice?
Well, lack of, I think it may be due to inefficiency in the justice delivery system, because I believe that we should be able to have a system where if a judge, either acquits and discharges somebody or strikes a case out in that manner, it's entered into a system, and that system, it automatically shows wherever the person is being kept, and the processes are done for him to be released.
So what they need more, computerization or what?
I think so. I think that may look more idealistic. But if you have investigators following up on these matters, those investigators are supposed to follow up and make sure that the people were released. So I realized that there were a lot of inefficiency when it comes to police and the work of police. So I was a bit more interested in what happens with the police in general. That was when I chanced upon the number of police assaults. We saw police killings and so on and so forth without any justice being demanded. As we speak now, only in 2018, we had over 20 people killed as a result of police brutality, and nothing was done about it. Nobody has demanded for justice in terms of what is happening to those police officers. We saw the 7 Asawasi guys who were shot and killed because it was so political. The ruling government went there so quickly, paid some compensation, and that was all. As if all the others were just animals that were just killed and nobody really cares about them. And as we speak now, there are a number of such people who have not received any form of either compensation or assistance, from the police. And the point is that we have sought to politicize every action of the police. So the police is unable to become as independent as they are supposed to be to do their work.
Let me take you on that. So you've had a chance to criticize the behavior of the police and the military during the lockdown and even after the lockdown when restrictions were being lowered. And you said, listen, these people are assaulting the public and they need to be brought to book. Guns are not needed. We are not at war. But then the police would also say, listen, we are fighting a war of some sort. We can't see this enemy. We are not used to the kind of policing where we don't have guns around, as pertains in the UK, for example, where policemen can walk around without guns. This is the system that we have.
But the point is that there are times that you will require a gun, and there are times that you would not require a gun. You talk about the invisible enemy, which is COVID. If that is an invisible enemy, you don't fight that invisible enemy with guns. You see, the point is that our police institution lacks the highest form of professional, I think we can say training and discipline at the same time. You see, there are some police officers who are doing so well. Let's not take it away from them. But there are many others, either for lack of proper training or for lack of, or for maybe overzealousness, are just out there and misbehaving. Recently, during this Black Lives Matter thing, when Ernesto Yeboah was arrested, I was there at the regional police. And there were policemen who came there and suddenly started shooting live bullets to disperse a crowd of not...
How did you know there were live bullets?
Oh, well, we confronted them. And they told us that, well, it is live bullets we use. We don't use rubber bullets. Someone confronted them and said, why must you use live bullets? He said, yes.
Did they shoot at the people or they shot in the air?
Well, it doesn't matter whether you are shooting in the air or you're shooting at the people. The point is that, do you need shooting live bullets into the air to disperse a crowd of about 30?
Did you make a report?
Well, the police were there. They saw what happened. In fact,
I mean, to their superiors?
The superiors
as a public interest lawyer?
We confronted them and we told them. We didn't do any formal report. But these were things that we raised with them. And some of the superiors were, the reaction was, well, these are like an overzealous group of people.
But if you had done a formal report, at least it should have been on record.
Well,
because right now it's just what you are saying against what happened.
Maybe I should have done a formal report. But the point is that there are several other reports that are pending. What has been done about it? Including the SOS Wagon violence, where several recommendations were made. Even that one, the president of the day just passed a white paper on it.
But the fact that there has been inaction in previous cases does not negate the fact that you must still push forward for whatever.
I agree, and that is why we continue to push forward. Maybe on that occasion, I didn't feel there was a real need to make a formal complaint about that, because what we were confronted with at that material time was how we could get our client out of the police grease, because we believed that he had not committed any offense, and that was what we eventually did when he was granted bail and so on and so. But the point is that my point really about that conduct is the fact that the police has consistently demonstrated inefficiency when it comes to upholding their own tenet. And when I'm talking about their service in integrity, and they are supposed to help detect crime and protect life and property. And the same life and property you are supposed to protect, you go about destroying that life and property.
Are we not running the risk of bastardizing and demonizing the Ghana police? The people who have sworn an oath to look after us?
I don't think so. You see, that's why I said there are people in the Ghana police that are doing well and must be commended. But there are others who are not doing well. You see, what is worrying to people like us who are just like human rights, who are interested in human rights, is the fact that when the police gets it wrong, the institution must take responsibility. And taking responsibility means that, one, victims of police brutality must immediately be assisted with their medicals and potentially and possibly giving some compensation for the assaults that they suffer. And perpetrators must immediately be brought to book. For example, if you're a police officer and your action leads to death, if it is an accidental death, you should be standing trial for manslaughter. If we can infer intentional death, then you should be standing trial for murder.
Like the George Floyd issues.
Like George Floyd issue. As we speak now in Ghana, I just gave you an example of 2018. Have you heard that any police officer is standing some trial? Even for assault or for causing unlawful harm on somebody?
Maybe they're waiting for you to start a Ghana Lives Matter movement.
Well,
because George Floyd only came to the public consciousness after people started demonstrating seriously around.
Someone said that Ghanaians are not maybe angry enough about some of these matters. Maybe Ghanaians are just taking it for granted, and maybe perhaps, many people don't really care until it gets to them. I've seen many people who don't really care whether police action leads to killing of somebody or police action leads to brutalizing somebody. They don't care. They have seen many journalists who maybe may take partisan positions and may report police brutality rather to favor police by saying that people were being stubborn, they were not adhering to the rules, but eventually when they are beaten or they are assaulted, then the story suddenly changes. But the point is that I think as Ghanaians, truth is absolute. You see, truth is not relative. As a people, we must get to that point when what is truth must remain truth, regardless of whatever political party you have leanings to, whatever religious views you hold. Truth is absolute.
I have a feeling that should you be elected to become member of parliament, you may lead a similar demonstration. This is what you said a couple of just recently. I'm looking at a day as a member of parliament, you could rally the people to demonstrate against a government for purposes of maybe infrastructure and, if possible, because you are the voice of the people. I mean, that's infrastructure. But I could see you doing something like this, rallying the voices of being a thorn in the flesh of a government.
Kafui, this is what it must be.
Even your own government.
Well, that is what it must be. Look, as a people, if we do not break away from the norm, there is no way we are going to have any change in this country. If we continue to do things the way we have always done things, we will not see changes in this country. If we are looking at the next generation of politicians, we are looking at, lifting Ghana beyond where it is today, then we must begin to do things differently. I think that as a member of parliament, you are there to represent a constituency. And you owe allegiance to the people who went to the ballot, to ballot box to vote for you. And that allegiance must be seen in your public debates, in your support for parliamentary work, the support for the bills that come before parliament, the kind of bills that you may be able to champion, whether it's a private member's bill, whatever you may be able to do must reflect the aspiration of the people. When we begin to do that individually as parliamentarians, then we will begin to see the national picture.
So are you going to be a rebel in the House?
Well,
sometimes voting against the NDC?
It's
the
not,
chagrin of your whip?
It's not necessarily about voting against the NDC, but the point is that I am willing to protect the integrity that I hold. I am willing to protect and stand for the values that I hold. My hope is that I will be able to rally others to go the way I want to go.
In your professional discharge of your duties, have you had problems with people who probably feel that, listen, this route you are taking is not good for us? I'll give you an example. So you defended one Charles Entry, this gentleman who is alleged to have made an attack, attempted to kill the former president Mahama.
That is correct.
And it was you defended him and got him basically freed on a mental incapacitation.
That's correct.
Charge. Did you have problems with the NDC? Say, look, this man wants to kill our man, and then you are defending him. Did you have problems?
Well, in every political party, you will have three categories of people. You have the liberals, you have moderates, and you have conservatives. There are many conservatives that may say that, no, why do you defend this person who wanted to kill your president?
And did you have people like that?
Oh, yes, of course.
Big.
We had people who were like that.
High-ups?
Well, I wouldn't say high-ups. There are people within, there are people who had that concerns. There are many people who engaged me on those matters. I recall that I had about 2015 primaries. It was one of the questions I had to answer over and over and over again, just letting them know that, look, we should be able to have values that you will live for.
Was President Mahama disappointed that you were defending this
Not
child?
at all. He was not.
Did he ever talk to you about it?
We have never talked about that, even though we've had times that we've had certain conversations. He's loved my human rights advocacy. He's supported my human rights advocacy, and he's never raised any concerns about that. But there are people who have raised those concerns that I've tried and clarified to them that, look, it's important that you hold some standards. What is wrong? Like I said, truth must be absolute. What is wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter. You see, it's just like what is happening today, and people have gone to sleep, and I feel sad. There are many people who have sought to be voices of the law in this country. When things are wrong, we expect, and it's a legitimate expectation, that they will come out and say that, look, this is not how things must go. We have seen that some types of very, wrongful arrests. Recently, we saw how somebody was arrested, and we, in his hands, on televisions, emanating from our law enforcement agencies. Very wrong. But everybody's quiet. Why must it be like that?
You were not quiet, though.
Yes, but where is the conscience? You see, it must not be just one voice out there.
Well, it takes one person to start a movement.
Well, I think that we are just too slow at warming up to this movement.
And that's why you are there. That's why you are there.
Needs to rise up.
That's why you're there.
We need to rise up against this obvious injustice in our system.
And maybe that's why you shouldn't run for MP. You should stick to your human rights role.
Well,
and put all your vim and your energy into it. You are diluting your vision and focus.
Not at all. Running for MP is not going to stop it. And nobody should make that mistake. In fact, it's going to give me a bigger platform to become the voice of the people as
you already have a national platform. You have an international platform. You speak on international platforms.
Being on that platform will not help you affect laws, legislations. It will not help you rally other people to go that way, so that you bring out laws that will benefit the generality of Ghanaians.
I disagree with that. One young lady took a photograph of a camera of a gentleman who was being executed in public, and the number of riots that emanated from that action has led to so many changes. They've charged the people swifter than they would have charged them. George Floyd's brother spoke to the UN. Action can happen at any level.
See, that is true.
You don't need to be an MP.
No, that is very, very true. But there are things that would happen in Parliament that would not necessarily be sparked by George Floyd. George Floyd is just one of. Can you imagine the number of legislations that are affecting blacks? And if there were no black legislators in Parliament or in positions, and what they've been doing in terms of advocacy and lobbying and so on and so forth. So there are sparks. You see, there are things that will spark such actions. But when those actions are sparked, you need people in strategic positions that can champion those, or that can give voice, or that can give strength to those sparks. As we speak now, there are many things that would happen with my candidature or with my becoming a member of Parliament in this country.
Name one.
Well, one of them I've told you already has to do with making sure that we revolutionize a lot of our laws that don't need to be on our statute books.
Which one would you go for first? Which one would you go for first?
There is one, like non-custodial sentence, is one of the things that I am going to champion and actually fight for at all costs.
So that if you are caught with 1 gram of ganja or weed, you shouldn't.
Well, already, even as we speak now, that is already being passed into law. We are only waiting for the presidential assent.
So something similar to that.
Something similar to that.
What are the other ones?
And there are many. There are many. See, there are a lot of things of social injustice. For example, I've realized in all the years of practice that when victims of crime are not protected in this country, and there is no known law that properly compensates and supports victims of crime. So I've been holding a criminal watching brief for a 12-year-old girl impregnated by 2 men.
That's not possible. How can 2 people impregnate one woman?
Well, what it means is that all of them had an opportunity.
Yes, but only one of them got her pregnant.
Well, at the point of this trial and everything, DNA was immaterial because the point is that 2 men have been sleeping with this girl.
Which is the serious issue.
You see, and now 2 men get convicted and sentenced 18 years. Everybody is cooling off in Isawam. So what happens to the 12-year-old girl? The state has no provision for her. There is nothing.
So where is the case right now? So what's happening?
Well, I mean, she has been under my protection. We're being able to put her. She's back in school. She's back in school and she's studying, and we have rehabilitated her. She's undergoing all kinds of, counseling and processes. But my point is that as a state, we don't have any provision for things like this. When you look at the social haven or our social welfare system, it's a completely broken system, not funded. It has nothing. It has no serious backing. These are things somebody needs to think about. Somebody needs to give a voice to back in Parliament.
And the man who wants to give a voice to the voiceless is none other than the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the good people of Medina, Francis Xavier Susu. You're watching The Next MP. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Jermaine Nkrumah. For decades, leaders in Ghana have been complaining about brain drain, referring to the mass exodus of Ghanaians into foreign lands. The good news is lately, that brain drain has actually evolved into what many refer to as brain gain. In other words, Ghanaians left and have acquired new skills, and they are now available to come home to help with national development. In fact, here at DNT, we insist that there is nothing that Ghana needs done towards her development that she cannot find a Ghanaian to do, be they at home or from somewhere in the world. The question is there a role for Ghanaians abroad to play in Ghana's development? If the answer is yes, then we have to ask ourselves, what are the measures that have been put in place to facilitate their return home to help with nation building? Join me on Diaspora Weekly every Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning as I engage Ghanaians, be they at home or abroad, as we analyze the topical issues and relevant issues pertaining to how diasporans abroad can come home and help with nation building. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and this is Diaspora Weekly.
Hi, my name is Kafui Dey. You're watching The Next MP. My guest is the parliamentary candidate for the NDC who wants to represent the good people of Medina come January 7, 2021. His name is Francis Xavier Susu.
Maybe other lawyers may disagree, but this is a case of res ipsa loquitur.
Break it down into English for us.
The matter speaks for itself. When you are the one in charge of the security details of a country, you are the one in charge of intels. You have a whole institution, national security, that is supposed to be picking intels, local and international intels, about what is happening. And we had Corona right from, I think, December 2019, ravaging countries to the extent that, I mean, countries like UK, US were already closing their borders.
First case in Ghana, March 12.
I mean,
what's your beef?
No, my beef is that we were so late in taking action against even the Corona, I mean, infiltration in the first place.
You're an opposition politician. It's easy for you to sit back and say, you know what, we should have closed the borders in January.
Not necessarily.
In February.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Opposition is easy.
Not necessarily. I think I agree. I mean, opposition is definitely easy. because it's about just opposing.
Which you are doing well.
No. You see, it's just about opposing. That is the popular perception of opposition. But I think that the right perception of opposition is offering alternative ideas as to how things should have been done. And my view is that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his cabinet ministers should have acted much earlier with urgency when this corona issue broke off in other countries. We never heard until March, when we recorded the first 2 cases. Did you hear any public statement on the fact that there is this disease ravaging the world or the globe? The globe, and that we should be careful and putting us on alert. It was zero.
What do you say to those who say, listen, these NDC guys and they just want to take advantage of corona?
Not at all.
Come into power.
Not at all.
You know, you set up a COVID team and you are appeased that the government doesn't take your suggestions.
No. The point is that the COVID team, that for me, that was the most visionary leadership that has ever happened with any opposition leader in this country. We've had situations when, other people were opposition leaders in this country. When countries had, crisis, what position did they take? Ghana had suffered certain crises that were not crises as a result of the government per se. What positions did the then opposition candidates take? This is an opposition leader who has taken personal obligation of the situation and saying that, look, all those who want to work with me, don't just sit down. We need to do something about the situation because we care about the people of Ghana. So if the current president is not going to do it, if the ministers are not going to do it, we want to do something about the situation. Even if they want to do something, we want to support what they may be doing. And
are they taking your advice?
Well, they never took most of the advice that we gave. From the beginning, when JM suggests, it seems from the beginning they were taking advice. The last advice they didn't take was the fact that we needed to prolong the lockdown by either a week or a little bit more than it should have been, and they refused.
You wanted us to go back into lockdown or just extend the lockdown a bit?
Okay. And it was part of the reasons why the cases are soaring. Remember that at the time that the president, shut down churches and other religious organizations and other social gatherings, our borders were still opened. And you recall that 1 week of people that came into the country were people that, maybe carrying corona. And it was after that week before the borders were locked and people were quarantined. And when they started quarantining people, the cases began to rise. So it means that we had a 1 week of free flow. And as we speak now, the numbers are rising. We are taking solace in the fact that recoveries are good. We thank God for that. We are taking solace in the fact that we are doing better than other countries. But the point is that every single Ghanaian's life matters.
What do you want the president to do?
So if any Ghanaian who loses his life as a result of COVID,
yes,
will trace it back to the negligence.
Okay, and you say the president, your words. So what do you want him to say? I'm sorry. Is that what you want him to say?
It's not wrong to eat your humble pie, to say that we believe that we didn't do well with this matter.
They probably don't like who is cooking the pie. You.
Well,
when I say you, the NDC.
That's a mistake people in government always make. And perhaps NDC might have made that similar mistake. When opposition parties are talking, you are saying that it's opposition. But you forget that the opposition is the representation of the voices of the people out there. Don't forget that NDC, despite the losing of our, the general presidential election, we still have members of parliament who won their seats. Don't forget that we still have over some 4, 5, 6 million Ghanaians who are people who are of NDC sympathies who may want to vote for NDC any day, NDC come, and who are going to endorse, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on the 7th of January 2020.
So they should listen to dissenting voices.
They should listen to dissenting voices.
Okay.
I think this is one of the things that, unfortunately,
has not happened.
The NPP has not done. And it's with great pain that I talk about this. You see, the NPP's motto is development in freedom.
What's the NDC's one?
You see, I'm coming. It's development in freedom. However, what we have experienced within these 3.5 years is underdevelopment in servitude. And not only have we suffered underdevelopment in servitude, I'm saying this because you know what? This is a government that says that we support local businesses. And yet when you came under this watch, several local businesses have died. And don't forget that once you collapse, or you collapse banks, you collapse, microfinances, there are several businesses that take their root from these businesses. We are talking about their children, their families, the people they support, and so on and so forth. And as we speak now, I can tell you on authority that just by mere observation of the numbers that have lost, maybe nearly 1 million Ghanaians have lost their job as a result of the banks going, microfinances going, fund managers going, and even now, as we speak now, in September, there is going to be a new law. The law that is going to allow for manufacturing of, assembly vehicles in Ghana, for which reason you cannot import, second-hand cars, or this accident cars. And you know what that means? What that means is that if you are in a business of importing this, you remember that our colleagues here, this is a diaspora TV. There are people in diaspora who have been bringing this thing so that they can make some look of you. All of them, their business is gone. There are brothers who go there to clear this at the port. They are losing their job. Those who are doing the mechanics who are able to fix these cars, their job is gone. The garages who sell these cars, their job is gone.
And so you want President Akufo-Addo gone because he is responsible for not just coronavirus, but all these things.
You see, Ghanaians cannot afford the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa for another 4 years. Because you see, I cannot imagine the untold hardship that can come upon Ghanaians as a result of his presidency.
And why should NDC be the alternative?
Begging Ghanaians.
Why is NDC the alternative?
NDC is the alternative because NDC, during the NDC's era, despite all the liquidity challenges that we are talking about, every bank was working. Their workers were there. They go and come and they get something small to eat. You see, under NDC,
they said they were cleaning up. They were working, but something wasn't right. You see,
the law is made for man and not man for the law.
Okay.
Even as a nation, how many times have we not had national budget? Have we been able to finance all our budgets year on year on? We haven't. We have not been able. The targets that we set for ourselves every year, have we been able to meet it? No. Who arrests us? So you are talking about regulations. Who set the regulation? Who set the target? Who set the minimum capital? And you are saying that you want to develop local businesses. And yet by your own policies, you are collapsing the businesses. So how would you ever expect that you should be given another opportunity for another 4 years so you can collapse the rest of the businesses? At the end of the day, you are going to collapse Ghana. And that cannot be allowed.
And that's why you want to be the MP for the people of Medina.
Not only the MP for the people of Medina,
January 2021.
that I will be able to rally people of Medina to give His Excellency John Dramani Mahama the needed vote for him to become the next president of Ghana.
You have a big task on your hands because the current MP won with a margin of 55% versus 43% for the NDC. And he gave the president 50% of the vote as against 40%. It was closer on the presidential level, but at the parliamentary level, the gap was wide. How do you bridge that gap? How do you get people to now believe in your vision? You don't have the resources, you don't have the state machinery behind you. He is a minister of state with the vice president's office. He's got experience. This is his third time as an MP. Salaga for 2 terms, 1 term for Medina. And you are inexperienced in the game. You don't have the resources. You are getting resources from Kayaye.
That is what is going to make 7 December an interesting day. You see, for those who have not believed God before, they should watch 7 December. Because the typical case of David and Goliath is going to repeat itself in Medina. And I can assure you, it's not going to be about who has a lot of resources. It's going to be about the people of Medina deciding and knowing that in the last 3.5 years, they've had a person who have not properly represented their interests. They've had somebody who has not been able to contribute to bridge the infrastructural gap that Medina is having. That we have a lot of drainage situations. Right. We have a lot of arrows unfixed. And even though it's not a core mandate of an MP to go and fix road and go and do drainage and so on and so forth, once you are a leader of the community, it's incumbent upon you to lobby for those development for the community.
And you are on point because I'm looking at what your agenda is. You're talking about total development for Medina, youth employment, social interventions, infrastructure, and quality representation of
and you know, with the social interventions, for example, you see, during this COVID,
yes,
we just showed example of what we were talking about. Because within this COVID, when the COVID first came out, we were the first people, and the people of Medina will testify, from the chiefs to the lorry stations and all the areas that you were mentioning that benefited from PPEs. We distributed more PPEs in Medina.
And we congratulate you for that, because I saw the reports about that in the media. But briefly, before we wrap up, I was going through your Twitter feed, very interesting one. You say the Green Book has become very scarce now, and you are launching the Green Book Challenge. And I'm thinking, why is NDC running on 2016 promises? Don't you have any fresh promises for the people of Ghana?
Well, I think the Green Book Challenge has nothing to do with what NDC seeks to do from 2020.
But the Green Book it was a pictorial representation of your promises. You even teased a minister about finding him in the Green Book on page XYZ. You're using it for political capital.
You see, the Green Book's actually a pictorial representation of the infrastructural work that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama did for the people of Ghana.
So achievements.
But you see, prior to 2016 election, we had another group that made the whole world believe that whatever was on the Green Book was a fantasy. It didn't exist. And unfortunately, when it was put to them to prove this is the Green Book, just pick the Green Book. If you can select only one project that doesn't exist on the ground, and they failed on that test. You see, that was why the Green Book began to trend again, because then we realized that all those lies ahead of 2016 had now been exposed. In the Green Book, we talk about the day senior high schools, and they were available to be seen. We talk about the University of Ghana Medical Hospital, they are there. You talk about the Ridge Hospital. We talk about major infrastructure interventions that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama had undertaken, which were doubted. Now, the reality has caught up with that.
And it may be working, because I saw an NDC MPP MP in the recent primaries bring out a blue book to tout his achievements. Is there a red book for 2020 from NDC?
There is no a red book. What we have is a series of hope that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama at appropriate time will be launching to give the people of Ghana, because he's already talked about a number of them.
Is it the digital conversations that he's having on Facebook?
He's had a number of them. He's talked about, the licensure exam for teachers, which he's going to scrape off. He's talked about restoring of the teacher allowances. He's talked about completing our senior high schools so that we will be able to eliminate this double track system that has completely destroyed our secondary education. He's talked about scraping off this universities bill that has been surreptitiously introduced to take away control, from the universities into government, and so on and so forth. He's talked about a number of things that he seeks to do, including restoring all the businesses that have been destroyed under this administration. So if you're a businessman, be hopeful. Don't lose hope. If your bank has been taken away, don't lose hope. If your microfinances have been taken away, don't lose hope. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is coming to return all these assets. Don't worry. Your assets that have been seized, how can you just imagine? You claim that it was due to liquidity challenge. That is why you are collapsing a microfinance. After collapsing it, you were still able to mobilize money to pay depositors. What sense does it make?
So you are
what sense does it make that you said you don't have money to pay depositors? So that's why I'm withdrawing your license. But after withdrawing the license, you are able to mobilize money to pay depositors after collapsing the business. If you have money to pay depositors, how come you didn't go into arrangement with shareholders and directors and make sure that you finance, or you recapitalize those businesses for them to pay depositors so they can continue to be in business and Ghanaians will continue to have jobs?
Lots of questions. Time would not permit us to get answers to those questions, but it's been great talking to you, Francis Xavier Susu, parliamentary candidate of the NDC for Medina. What's your final message to the good people of Medina who are watching?
Well, my final message is that I want you to know that I want to be a leader that will properly represent you. And I want you to know that no leader can solve every single problem that we are confronted with in Medina. However, if you have someone who is approachable, who is humble, who is God-fearing, who has the love for man and love for service, such a person will be a better representation of you in Parliament. And that person is no other person than lawyer Francis Xavier Susu. I want to assure you that I am a general to this generation of Madina people that are rising. I'm an inspiration to your children. Look, our elderly people have done some. My contender has done some. You know, he has a rich political history and a rich, political CV. I think that he's done enough. It is time for us to let him retire so you can bring a young guy that can change the fortunes of Madina and change the fortunes of the youth, get them job, get them opportunities so we can lift up Madina again. Thank you.
And let me say thank you in the languages that Francis Xavier speaks. So Nagode.
Nagode. Akpe. Medasi. Oyiwaladon.
Thank you very much.
Merci.
De rien, mon frère. Merci. And that brings us to the end of the show. My name is Kafui Dey. My guest was the parliamentary candidate for the good people of Madina, representing the NDC at this year's elections. Till we come your way the next time, this is me saying goodbye and watch out for the next episode of The Next MP.